Okay, we're going to look at a grid called remembrance. And the energy, the frequency of remembrance is it supports memory of everything that we've gone through in our soul body, which is the soul you've got now in this body. And
Right.
this provides us with information and tools to help our flow through life. So that's what it looks like.
Oh,
And
it's
each of those
beautiful.
stones, I'll do the detail on this one because it's got a lot and they're very pertinent. Pink rhyodite is for resolution of issues and to facilitate change. That's the big guy. That little guy
Uh-huh.
there is serpentine. Serpentine can be white to green. Normally people see it green, but the vibration of serpentine is retrieval of memories, building of wisdom. Then the lepidolite, which is these two little judy dot loops back down here, are release and reorganization of energy, and they heal negativity. The amethyst points, which look like feathers around this, are
Yes.
spiritual values, meditation, and spirit protection, and they help the psychic development. The crocodile jasper is the stones in the middle there. There's 5 of them. They calm the mind and relieve stress. They're for wisdom. 5 is also the number for change. Amazonite, the bright blue ones, heal trauma. Amazonite chevrons, which are some of these up here that have they're smoother and they have white and purple. They're
Uh-huh.
spiritual values and meditation. And then the little points on the top and the bottom are to direct spiritual energy.
Oh, beautiful.
So,
There's something very, when you held that up, there's something very Native American about
oh,
it.
it is. It's the most Native American of any of the grids I've ever worked with. This is well, this one is a more typical looking grid and it's more circly. It's usually grids build from the center out. This one will
Oh,
be
it's
easy to fire
beautiful.
up because, and this one is synergy. And the frequency of synergy is our allowances to accept the not obvious, the never before seen combinations and create them into unions that find ways functioning in our world. So the middle one is healing, good luck, and calm soul, psychic development. The carnelians, which are the little red, that little red guy there, is grounds and directs the spiritual path. That little red stone has as much power as any stone on this board. It's for grounding. The rose quartz, can you spot it? There's 7 of them. Calm, loving, safety, attract new friends. Pink opal, which are the bigger pinks.
Right.
Um, healing and clearing and calming the heart. Psychic development. The green calcite, which are the things that look like green glass. Healing
Uh-huh.
anxiety, balance, and self-discovery. They're to protect your heart as you're going through these changes to learn how to do things.
Oh, interesting.
So, sodalite, the dark blues, ends arguments and disagreements, helps understand patterns. That's for peace. Amazonite, again, heals trauma. It's for letting go. And the amethyst points are spiritual values in meditation. And so you're surrounded by the spiritual values. So what you've got here is you're going from being grounded to the green calcite, which is healing anxiety, to the spiritual values. And that's what synergy does.
Oh, that's beautiful. And so when you're powering something like that up, would you start with that big stone in the middle and move out?
Start, I can do it because I'm going to sage it before I put it in the mailbox. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
we go from here to the first row out to
Uh-huh.
this, this, this. Then you go out to the next row. Go here, 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 here,
Oh, I
here.
see. Okay.
And then you go out to the big. And then once you've got them all out there, you go around and around in the circle. Yeah, I did fire it up, so I'm gonna have to clean it.
Well,
Sorry about
and
that.
then the other one, the one that kind of looked more Native American, would you
Right.
start with the biggest stone at the
I'd
bottom, or
start
would
with
you
the
start
biggest
in the
stone.
middle?
I'd start with the biggest stone and I'd go to the 2 at the bottom. They're actually listed on this list.
Okay.
What you get on the back is it looks like that and
Okay.
it's all backwards, but it tells you the crystal, what it's for, where it's located, and how many of them. Because
Uh-huh.
some of these things will have very similar colors. There's lapis lazuli and sodalite look a lot alike. They
Uh-huh.
actually have 2 different functions. They both deal with communication.
Okay.
Aquamarine and azurite look very much alike, but one is communicating in one way and one's communicating in another.
Okay.
So I try to balance those things out. I try to take things into consideration. Of course, I got to work with what I got. So, um,
So what does one of your little ones look like if you have
well,
littler ones?
my little ones,
Little ones.
my little ones, well, actually, my little ones look a lot like your little box when you come to, when we
Oh,
talk
okay.
about crystal compasses. I'm in essence
Uh-huh.
sending you a compass. You can set these three out and I'll send you a little fluorite to put in the middle. That'll be your person stone, or you can carry them each piece individually, whatever you want to do. And you do
Okay.
it, you form them into a triangle and you power them up. The little crystal compasses, I have three that I'm very sure work because a lot of people have bought them. I have
Mm-hmm.
Heart of the Heart, I
Mm-hmm.
have Body and Soul, and Body and Soul is if your body or your soul needs help. That's what
Okay.
those are for. And then the crystal cash is obvious. It's to make money.
Okay.
It's to generate abundance. But the next project I'm working on, and dun, da, 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 this is being premiered on your show.
Oh, awesome. Okay, great.
See it?
Oh, that's gorgeous.
That's a throat chakra. That's a heart chakra uh, thing. We invented it for a friend of mine
Uh-huh.
who has heart and lung problems. And it has a rutilated quartz there. And those are moss agates. Moss agates, when you look at them, they look like lungs, but green.
Uh-huh.
And this will be, we're gonna be selling these
Uh-huh.
now. They're much more affordable than my big grids. They're slightly more expensive than a crystal compass. But if
Okay.
anybody's interested in it, they can go to my crystaldirections@gmail.com. We were supposed to have a site to check in on my website, but my website guru
Mm-hmm.
also has another job. So
Oh.
I don't get it up with that. But it's very pretty. And what you do with this one is it's a very different. You get a card that comes with it, and it'll be this I've glued together to show you.
Right.
Um, and it says, this is allowance, and there'll be a little wand. This is a rutilated quartz wand, and you'll
Uh-huh.
touch the egg and you'll pull it back, and then you say, and while you're thinking about your energy, say, I open up to allow my energy to harmoniously move in the universe, the activation switch, which
Mm-hmm.
is this little guy.
Right.
The activation switch will combine my energy with the crystals without opinion, without resistance, without fear, without judgment, in a state of wholeness and an expansion to the greatest good of all. And it tells you what kind of gems are in there. And we've just started, my fabricators just started making them in Denver. And we're going to have, right now, you know who Bob is that does the Akashic Records? Have you?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, he did my Akashic Records. And he said, you're a man in Atlantis. And I said, oh, okay, fine. And he said, no, you were a healer in Atlantis and you invented healing people with crystals. Now, he kind of knew what I did, but he didn't know.
Oh, right.
And
Uh-huh.
so he and I talked about it. And then he looked at my website and he said, how can you heal and move things and move energy like that? Because I'm not healing like a doctor heals. I'm like helping you move your energy around so you're more comfortable.
Right.
And he said, how do you know? And I said, I just knew as soon as I saw the crystal grid that I knew what it was. Well, it ends up my old, um, my soul was back there then, and I have now I'm bringing forward all the knowledge of what I had. So I was telling him I had a friend I wanted to heal. So he and I kind of brainstormed. And then I went to my fabricator and I said, we need to create something that Bill can have at his house and put right by his chair. And I figured out how to activate it because I send wands with my big grids. There'll be a
Mm-hmm.
wand with a little grid. And this one is specifically designed to work across the heart chakra because that's where his problems are. I mean, he's died 3 times on the operating room table with heart
Oh
things.
my gosh. Oh
And
my gosh.
and then um, Bob's the one who said you need an activation prayer. You need to have him allow him to work with the crystals. Well, I do that. I just don't have people do a prayer. I have them write out a list of intentions when they get a big grid. I tell them to
Right.
write out a list of intentions when they get a little grid, a little
Mm-hmm.
crystal compass. Because
Mm-hmm.
crystal compasses you can carry with you. You can do whatever you want. This guy will be set. We've got a really cool stand. It's already designed. I don't have one. I won't have one till the end of the month, but it's actually a hand holding the egg. I mean, it's a
Oh.
hand that you can slip the egg into. And
Mm-hmm.
I've already designed, I figured out there's going to be 12 eggs altogether, but we're going to manufacture them and then roll them out about 6 weeks apart.
Oh, how
So
exciting.
people
That's
can, and so I love it because I love making these big grids.
mm-hmm.
But, one of these poor guys has been waiting for a month to get this because
Right,
it
right.
just takes me, I have to look at the thing. And once I build the grid, the original one, I build it on a glass pie plate. And then I gather it all up and I store it. And these are people who haven't gotten theirs yet.
Mm-hmm.
This is somebody's grid. I put it back in a plastic bag. I let it sit for a week. Then
Uh-huh.
I pull it out again and see if it's still valid. And I actually have had times when I went, no, I don't know where my head was at that point in time. And usually I do better in the second try. But I don't have too many second tries, thank God. And then I have to affix them. And that caused me a problem because the stuff I was using to affix it, I didn't have enough air circulation in the room and I made myself really sick. We thought I had COVID, but I just had
Oh.
getting too
Mm-hmm.
much glue in my system. So
Oh, wow.
and the doctor said, no, I have bad lungs anyway. She said, no, working on that for 2 weeks. So
Oh,
that
wow.
stopped everything.
Right.
Um, and then I have to document all this. I have to write down each person gets a letter with an explanation of their grid. The explanations on the back of the grid. And then I have one more meeting with them to fire it up if they want to.
Well, I just love, Nancy, that you've shown us the little wand and you have the bewitched twitch going off in the
Oh,
background.
that's my notification. I should have turned my phone off. I'm sorry.
Perfect. No, it's perfect. It's perfect.
But
So
anyway,
I want to ask you though, I want you to make a prediction because
sure.
of all of the trauma the country has suffered through COVID. Make a prediction of what you think the crystal people might be drawn to most over the next year. Um,
I think
because
it's
we're all going
real.
to be healing.
It's healing, but I'll tell you, I want you to do some of your woo woo magic on this too.
Okay.
I have a friend who's an energy healer, and her daughter had COVID. And what this woman does is at a distance, she goes in your energy and she goes around with tuning forks, and she pulls out all the bad stuff. She makes like a glob. I mean, this is not the best explanation,
Right.
but
Okay.
she makes like a glob of all the malfunctioning parts.
Uh-huh.
And she usually, the way she'd been trained, is she takes that and kind of makes it into a ball and she throws it into the earth for purification. Well, this was her first COVID case. She'd done it with her daughter. And when she went to throw it in the ground, it says, no, no, don't throw it to the ground. Throw it to the sky. Throw it to the
Oh.
sun. It said specifically, throw it to the sun. So mentally, she did. She sent it into the sun and she saw it go up there and get shattered. So she called me and I'm building her grid. Her grid, actually, she pulled the card healing. Her grid's about healing.
Uh-huh.
But she and I were talking about it. And that night I had a dream. And you know those energy waves I told you that are coming across the planet because we left the electromagnetic, we had a cloud around us that really protected us from a lot of stuff. About a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we left that cloud and we're now floating in a part of space we haven't been in for like a bazillion years. And our whole galaxy and our whole solar system within the galaxy. And what I saw is it's upgrading our DNA, but it also changed the DNA in the virus. That's why she couldn't send that virus back into the earth because
Oh.
it's not from the earth. The changes that have happened to it. Could you woo on that? Because that seems, I don't do alien stuff much.
Me neither. Me neither.
I have enough problems with what's going on here. Thank you. So if you could think about that at some point in time, just get back to me because it's a lot to absorb, but I can't figure out why else she would have been told to cast it to the
You know
sun.
what's weird, Nancy, is that because when I get a big change in the energy, I get really lightheaded. It's always my
Mhm.
sign that either there's a spirit around or my guides have rushed in or something has changed very quickly. And when you told me that story, that's what was happening with me. So there's
Okay.
something to this. And I know there is, and I will look at it because I think that that's weird for that to happen to me when I'm doing an
When we're
interview.
talking about
It's kind of
this, we're
weird.
talking, yeah, especially when you're talking about crystals, which are come from the ground. I mean, they're totally grounded, unless they're a
Right,
meteorite.
right.
Uh, so if that might explain how we're going to survive it, though, is if we understand, if we allow our upgrades to happen too. I think we are going to have to give permission for that energy to upgrade us too.
Right.
I don't think, I think we have strong enough free will within our souls that what happens to us on those journeys when really new things get thrown at us like this, we have
Hmm.
to deal with it. And Bob and I talked a bit about that. And he said, well, you would know because you've been healing people for centuries. So I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
and I ran into her the same time we figured out how to do the egg, and what'll happen with those eggs is we're also going to have earth, air, wind, and fire,
Hmm.
and the tree of life in there. We're going to have the 7 chakras. So it's going to be kind of like, what do you want to work with? You know,
Right.
because I had a lady who she wanted, I ended up finding that this incredible stuff called fire quartz. It's a translucent quartz. It's a translucent quartz, but it looks like it has flames going through it. It's just beautiful. She was born with a chart with no fire on it. Now I said, that's not true. No one's astrologic chart. You at least have the signs of fire, and you
Hmm.
somehow or another you're going to have an angle to one of them. I mean, it's impossible. You just don't have it completely. But she said she had no, and she sent me her stuff, and she doesn't have a whole lot of fire. So she
Uh-huh.
wanted fire on her grid because she's trying to get motivated to do things that are going to take a little more passion and fire.
Hmm.
So I found the fire quartz, and it fit with the grid pattern the activation she'd picked, and she really likes it. She's redoing her apartment in New York to sell it. But anyway, I think that you know like you like rose quartz. You like rose quartz because you feel comfortable with it. You could start mixing your rose quartz in with other things to extend your vocabulary, your mineral vocabulary.
Okay.
But for those of your watchers who want to know, it's Nancy Jean's Garden.
Hmm.
I'm on 6 or 7 days a week. I do a lot, and but they're short. I mean, they're not like going to be
Right.
like, this is like the longest I've ever talked on Zoom.
Okay.
And I try to go into all the different values and things I've learned through time,
Mhm.
things that I got a really good reaction to my weight loss one when I talked about it. And I talked about, and I've taken a day, and I'm going to have a day where I talk about tapping, which really helped me focus so I could begin to lose weight. And I really am a strong believer in neurolinguistic programming, in changing our brains.
Uh-huh.
Nothing makes me more angry than when I'm reading someone and they say, but I'm trying to do that, but I'm trying to do that. And I'm like, you either do it or you don't do it. I mean, there's that. If I could take a word out of the English language, I think trying would be the one.
Okay.
So you're going to run into all that
Stop
very
trying, just
grandma.
do it.
Yeah, you're going to run into all that real grandma mom speech. But I'd love to have people come over and visit. I will have you come over sometime and talk to me there.
I would love
And
to.
well, once you've played with some more crystals, once you
I
played
was
with
going
your
to say,
crystals, you tell me.
I don't know anything about crystals, but I'm happy to be
No, but
there.
people ask me, they say, well, how do you know that works? And a lot of times I'll go and I'll research it afterwards, but I'll just go through the store and the big stone, the big pink stone that I picked, it
Mhm.
actually matched the image that was on the activation card so perfectly. You'll see, I said, I can't pass up that stone.
Oh, it's
That
beautiful.
stone.
Yeah.
And then
Right,
when I got
right.
it home, I'd never worked with that stone. I looked it up. It was exactly what this grid needed for the entry. So my
Oh
angels kind of
gosh.
walk around the store. It's so funny at the rock shop. It's called Rock Barrel. And I always talk about I'm going to the rock, to the rock, to the rock shop. And people follow me around now and they follow me and they go, because they're watching me put the weirdest combination of stuff together. Because
Right. Uh-huh.
I'll be doing 5 or 6 grids at a time. I'll be buying for 5 or 6 grids. And they'll be looking at me like, what's wrong with this woman? And finally somebody said, what are you doing? And I showed her pictures of my grids. And she said, who taught you how to do that? And I'm self-taught,
Hmm.
that way. I mean, there are Judy Hall's written a book about grids if you just really need to have a manual,
Hmm.
but you just need to go touch the rocks yourself and decide what works. And because of my years of card reading,
Hmm.
I've been very blessed to have that background to understand how to take their energy, my energy, and make it into something here now.
Right,
And
right.
so I can channel that. But um, the first time I built a grid, it exhausted me. And when I was first building them for face-to-face presentations, I could build a grid a day and then I'd be wiped for a week. And now I've learned how to handle the energy. The stones
Mm-hmm.
can be incredibly exhausting. They can, and they can talk to you. Um, Go see my show on Crystal Chaos, because
Okay.
if you mix the wrong stones, they'll
Mm.
fight with each other and they'll keep you up at night, especially in your bedroom. And I
Oh.
said that on a show, and this woman wrote me 2 days later and she said, I thought that was insane, but my husband and I had been collecting crystals going around the country. So I
Hmm.
told him the big bowl, we'd all dumped them in a big bowl a couple months ago and put it in our bedroom because it was very pretty. And I
Hmm.
told him, we haven't been sleeping well recently. She took it out and she said they both slept 8 hours a night. And her husband said, what the hell was that? And she said, it's crystal chaos. And you can do it
Crystal
by color
chaos.
and
Oh,
form. And,
interesting.
it's
Well,
like you put the wrong readers together and it's not going to work either.
right, right, right. Well, it's energy. So, and it, I, it, if one's doing one thing and one's doing another, then I can understand that how there'd be chaos. So that's so interesting. And it's so, I think this was really great, Nancy, for people that are like me, who are a little bit intimidated by the world of the, because it
Mhm.
is a world of crystals. Once you step into it, it is just its own big massive thing, and it can be intimidating. But I'm so glad we did this, because I hope that people get the sense that they can start small, and they
Right.
can move, and they can start with what they love, and
Hmm.
then move from there. And it's a process.
And move to what power you presume you want to know. I mean, let's see here. Yep. I have to do this periodic. There's no way I can keep all these rocks on my table. This is a rainbow obsidian. Can you see the rainbow?
Okay.
You can see it
Oh
today.
yeah.
It's working.
Yeah, that's
Okay, when you
gorgeous.
take this out in the sunlight, it's rivers of color. And I bought this for my husband when we were dating. Our son's 30 years. This rock, I got it 40 years ago. And but I put my hand on it and I just knew I needed that rock to be part of my life. So I gave it to Bill because trust me, he needed grounding more than I did. He's a Brit, what can I say? But need I say more? But
Yes,
anyway,
indeed.
um, if you put your hand on this, I would have this on my working table. People put their hand on that and their energy goes back in their body. Then I hand them one of my big quartz things and it goes, whoa, and they can really feel how that works.
Right, right.
And it's really, so the best thing you can do is, and I know it's like scary to go out there. And I don't know that everybody has rock shops. I got a letter from a woman in Norway who said, we don't have a rock shop like yours.
Mm.
And like, There's stones in that store we import from Norway. I don't know what she's talking about. I mean, they're coming from somewhere, but really just touch, feel, look. If you have an interest in something, see if there's a mineral that matches it.
Okay. That's a great suggestion.
And
It's
otherwise,
funny.
you can
Good.
call me. You can contact me, and I'll be glad to try to point you in the right direction. But I'm hoping the world's opening up. I see that. I told the wine place where I used to read cards, he wants to have a party to have me back.
Hmm.
And I told him it wouldn't be till the end of summer. But when this whole thing started, I told my son, my oldest son, we'd be 250,000 dead. And 250,000. And he said, are going to get sick? This was a year ago. And I said,
Uh-huh.
no, they're going to die. And he said, overall. And I said, no, by election day, which he
Oh,
works in politics. So election days, like he understands that
right.
time frame. And he said, Mom, you're kidding. And I said, no, I talked to him the other night. He's devastated at what this is doing to his family, his kids, his life, everybody.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's
So
been, yeah.
so go Google enlightenment stones. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of stones that work with psychic development.
Hmm.
And then you have to decide is you want the crown, you want the third eye.
Hmm.
But I'll tell you, that's why we started with this egg, is because until I opened my heart, I couldn't do all the things I wanted to do. And
Right.
I mean, like recently opened my heart. I really, so it's really important for me to get things out that open the heart chakra, because
Right.
that's where we start to communicate, talk to each other.
Right. And especially, I think that is so powerful for right now in the
Hmm.
world, in politics and everything. It all has to do with this opening of heart. I constantly pray. People ask what to pray for in this
Hmm.
climate. And I always pray for people's hearts to soften, because I
Hmm.
think when you have this hard heart that doesn't let anything in, doesn't want to hear anybody else,
That's
there's
what fear
nothing you
is.
can do.
That's
Yeah.
what fear is. Fear is
Right.
just, face everything and recover. In other words,
Mhm.
open up and see it, or F everything and run. And I'm going to
Right.
tell you right now, there are not track shoes good enough in the universe to run away from what we're trying to do now.
Right.
So
Right.
opening up and being open and being receptive and being kind
Right.
is it's all important. And
Right.
I've lived long enough to understand that much.
Right. I think that's, yeah, that's great. Nancy, I have enjoyed this so much. Tell people where all the ways they can find you. So you said
Okay.
YouTube, and how else can they find you and get your grids and find out what
Mhm.
all the things you do?
I do. You can go to www.crystaldirections.com, and that's my website, and you can see what I do there. All my contact information is there. Eventually, when Anjali gets free again, when she doesn't work for those other people who pay her, um, I'll have a shop there. I also have Nancy Jean's Garden, and there
Mhm.
all my links to me are there. And I have Venmo and PayPal.
Mhm.
So if you want to see more about crystals and rocks and stuff, help support the poor little old lady who lives on Social Security. Um, and like I said, if you want to write, right now I'm asking people, what do you want to know about crystals? Um, I've had desert roses. I knew all about them, but I didn't know all the legends around them until someone said, please look at desert roses. So I
Oh,
went and looked them up and got the whole thing about that each rose has its own guide and its own way to live its life and all the different forms that it takes. When I have them, I show samples of what the crystals I have look like. Obviously, I'm not the Smithsonian, so I don't have all of them. I have some key ones. So that's the best way to find me. And if you really are fired up about crystals, go to my channel, because we're trying to figure out a way to explain how crystals work with the other woo-woo stuff. Before the world stopped, I had a friend approach me, and he wanted me to create a thing to speak to his business people, because he found that once I taught him some things about energy, that it helped him. So I had the world of woo and you. So I did this whole lesson plan, and I've been using some of that on my station too. So if you're curious about how all this melds together, I'd be glad to help you there.
Great. Well, thank you, Nancy. And we're going to put all of the links in the description so people can find everything that you just said. And
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much for being on and thank you for what you do. You bring such healing and such wisdom and light into the world. So thank you so much
Well,
for
thank
doing what
you.
you
And I
do.
feel the same way about you. I was just so excited when you wanted me to have you on your channel, because when I started watching, I didn't even know YouTube had readers until 2018 and in October. And then my son had to get me YouTube Prime so that I would not, because I can't stand commercials. Anyway, um, and I started watching all the readers, and I'm fascinated with what you do. One reader asked me, "What is she doing?" And I said, "She's channeling. I mean, you do cards and she does paper."
Right.
And I cannot do it. Well, actually, I can do some automatic writing, but I wouldn't begin. You are so hands above, uh, uh, as far as readers, and I've been kicking around psychic fairs since the '60s. So this woman's the
Oh,
real
thank
deal.
you. Well, that I am honored then that you would say something like that to me. So
Also,
thank you, Nancy.
our lives are so parallel in many ways. My daughter has her own little business too, so I'm going to put a pitch in for it. It's
Oh,
called
please do.
Cross. It's called Instagram, and it's called Cross Bitchin' TX.
Uh-huh.
She does cross stitches with a snark attitude. So,
Oh,
and
wow.
she will also do custom pieces. So, if you have a phrase that's between you and a friend and you would really like to
Uh-huh.
immortalize it, give it to them to hang on their wall, Casey'd be glad to help you.
Oh, that's great. And it's funny because I just had an interview with another reader with Danny, and we talked about
Mhm.
humor and how important humor is, especially right now. So that is
Yeah.
honestly such a gift to the world. So that's great. And we'll put that in the description and make sure that everything's
Okay.
there and they can find you and your daughter and all the great things you
Yeah,
do.
because I mean, she has a real job, but she it's her creative outlet, and I something I taught her to do when she was a little girl, how to cross stitch. And
Oh,
instead
that's
of
great.
lovely little phrases your grandma would say, they're phrases your grandma might rip off your wall, but they're fun. Anyway, I really
Exactly.
enjoyed today, and
Thank you.
I admire what you do. And whenever I see
Likewise.
Intuitiview shows up, that's the first thing I go to.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Nancy. I really appreciate that. So we'll talk to you later and everyone look at the description down below to find all of Nancy's wonderful projects, all of her the places you can talk to her, find her, see her, and her daughter as well, and
Hmm.
her amazing cross-stitching abilities. And we will
Hmm.
see you again soon. Okay,
Okay, bye
bye-bye.
bye.